My mother called me her little miracle in every birthday card until I was 12. That was the year I found out what the word actually meant and who it was really about. My dad wasn't my biological father. I found out the way you find out things you're not supposed to. A document in a drawer. A name I didn't recognize where my dad's name should have been. I carried it and let it rewrite everything I thought I knew. The miracle wasn't me. It was him. A man who didn't have to stay and stayed. My mother wrote it in every card because she still couldn't believe it herself. But at 12, I didn't read it that way. I translated it into something simpler. He wasn't real. The Sunday pancakes from scratch. Not real. Sitting on my bed reading aloud after I could read on my own. Not real. Coaching my soccer team after learning the offside rule from a library book, I filed it underperforming. His name was Oren, a carpenter. Built things that didn't wobble. The kind of man you describe by what he did, because what he said never amounted to much. When I was 14, my mother's brother Niall started showing up more. Niall was loud. Niall had stories. Niall took me to games and said things like, "You've got your mother's fire," which made me feel seen in a way. Oren's quiet never did. He called Oren the handyman at Thanksgiving. Everyone laughed. Oren smiled like he was in on the joke. I laughed the loudest. I stopped going to Oren's workshop on Saturdays, where he used to let me sand whatever he was building while neither of us talked. I told myself I'd outgrown it. I told myself quiet wasn't enough. At 16, I needed my birth certificate for a passport. Oren drove me. I watched him hand the papers across the counter. Saw his hand hesitate on the page with the biological father's name. He didn't flinch. On the drive home, I asked if it ever bothered him. He was quiet for a full mile. Then he said, "You were 3 days old the first time I held you. You grabbed my thumb and didn't let go for 20 minutes. That was enough for me." I turned up the radio. He built me a desk that fall. It had a shelf at the exact height where I kept my water glass. I hadn't told him about the water glass. He'd noticed. The week before graduation, I found a box in my mother's closet. I was looking for a tie. My name on the lid in Oren's handwriting. Inside, 17 years of things. Every drawing I'd ever made him. Every Father's Day card, including the ones I'd clearly been told to write. A photo of him holding me at 3 days old, my fist on his thumb exactly like he'd described, and a letter. Undated. "If you ever want to find your biological father, I will drive you there. I will wait in the car as long as you need, and I will be here when you come back." Being your dad was never something that happened to me. It was something I chose every morning, and I will keep choosing it whether you let me or not. I sat on my mother's closet floor for a long time. Graduation day. Niall was in the 4th row with a foam finger he'd brought as a joke. I could hear him from the stage. Oren was at the back fence because he didn't think he'd earned a seat, holding a single yellow rose, watching the way he watched everything, like he was memorizing it in case he didn't get to see it again. When they called my name, Niall whooped. Everyone heard it, but I was looking at the fence. Oren didn't make a sound. He pressed his hand flat against his chest and closed his eyes. Just for a second, like my name was something he needed to absorb rather than celebrate. After the ceremony, I walked past the 4th row, past the whooping, to the back fence. He looked surprised, actually surprised, like he'd already planned how to leave without being seen. I hugged him and the yellow rose bent between us, and I said something I'd never said with any weight behind it. I said, "Thanks, Dad," and the word landed differently than it ever had because for the first time I chose it. The way he'd been choosing me my entire life. He was quiet for a while. Then he said the rose was supposed to be straight. I told him it was perfect the way it was. That Saturday, I drove to his workshop. He was sanding something. He didn't ask why I'd come. He just handed me the sandpaper and we worked side by side without saying a word. I didn't have to tell myself anything this time. The quiet was enough.